Hey guys, I'm Ted, here to give you another lecture. But before we begin our lecture proper, I would like to simply do a recap and just hit touch base with what we talked about last time. So in our last lecture, we discussed the Fugitive Slave Law of 1850 and how that had a major impact on sectional tensions between Northern and Southern tensions. We discussed the Anthony Burns case, in which Burns, a former slave from Virginia, had escaped to the north. He had escaped from Virginia, making his way all the way to Massachusetts. He was apprehended in Boston and forced back. Local abolitionists attempted to fight on his behalf, but they lost, and he was forced back into slavery in Virginia. We also looked at the passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act and how that simply led to a great discord amongst northern elements and southern elements. We saw that the Kansas-Nebraska Act was intended by Stephen Douglas to be a springboard into the presidency, but it really simply made the Union more unstable. It amped up the sectional tensions of the nation. And with that being said, I'd like to jump straight into the second half of our lecture on the turbulent 1850s. Now, to begin with, the nation was really not in good shape by 1854, 1855, particularly in 1854, where we're still at. The Kansas-Nebraska Act further damaged the Whig Party, as they voted along strictly sectional lines during its passage. The Democratic Party was mortally wounded by this act as well. The Northern Free Soil Democrats were all leaving the party. Northern Democrats who were opposed to this act left and joined the Free Soil Party, convinced that the Democratic Party was nothing more than a slavocrat tool. And before the passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, there were over, now, in particular looking at the Democratic Party in the aftermath of the passage of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, there were over 93 free state Democrat senators in the House of Representatives. Now, after the midterm election of 1854, there would only be 25. This was a direct reaction. I didn't mean 90 senators. I meant 90 members of the House of Representatives. I'm sorry about that. But the loss of nearly 3/4 of their population in the House was a direct result of the passage of the Fugitive Slave and Kansas-Nebraska Acts. With the passage of that act, the Whigs were done as a national party. The Democrats were mortally wounded, but the Whigs were unraveled. In the aftermath of the demise of the second national party system, the Know-Nothings, who focused on anti-Catholic and anti-immigrant issues, we can see them adopting a lot of the old Whig ideology. The Know-Nothings rose. And they were called Know-Nothings because it was a male sort of like secret society, sort of secret group. You know, there was a lot of secrecy involved with Know-Nothing politics. Whenever they were asked questions about the party or about their politics, they would simply respond that they knew nothing. Hence the name Know-Nothings. But they attracted workers who were afraid of immigrants coming in and taking their jobs. Ex-Whigs who had always disliked Catholics and immigrants joined them. Some people joined simply to oppose the Democrats. You had some former Democrats that weren't joining the Free Soilers, and they were joining the Know-Nothings because they simply wanted to oppose the Democrats, who were largely beginning to be seen in the North as nothing but tools of the slavocrats. And the Know-Nothings were successful for a while. They took control of several states in New England. They took control of 4 states in New England. They managed to gain control of Maryland, Kentucky, and Texas for a while. But the know-nothings themselves soon fizzled out. And largely because of sectionalism, and by sectionalism we mean slavery. For the know-nothings, being against immigrants and Catholics were not enough to overcome the slavery issue. And there stood in 1854 that ex-free soilers founded the Republican Party in Wisconsin. The opposition to the extension of slavery in the territories was their main platform. Non-opposition to the practice of slavery, just its extensions. The party soon attracted anti-slavery Whigs and Free Soil Democrats who rallied together to oppose the Kansas-Nebraska Act. The Kansas-Nebraska Act became the first major rallying point for the Republican Party. After 1856, most northern know-nothings joined the Republican Party. In 1856, the Republican Party ran their first presidential nominee, and what would prove to be a purely sectional race. The party's base spread quickly from the northwest all the way to the northeast, and the former know-nothing states in New England quickly joined the Republican Party. John C. Fremont of California was chosen to be the party's first nominee in Philadelphia in 1856. Now, the Republicans quickly alienated Southern Democrats because they denounced slavery openly as an evil practice and calling for the immediate overturn of the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Now, the Democrats saw in the Republican Party an enormous threat to everything they held dear. In the election of 1856, the Democrats abandoned Franklin Pierce, and Pierce was the sitting president. Pierce was hoping to be reelected, but he was abandoned and nominated instead James Buchanan of Pennsylvania, who had a long and very solid career as a Democrat. He was he had a lot of a long list of pro-Southern credentials. In 1856. In the 1856 election was really the first election between the Democrat and Republican parties as we know them today. Both parties there are in many ways not the ideological heirs of their forebears, but are the nonetheless party iterations, like the legacy. They carry the torch of the legacy of the iterations of the parties created in the 1830s and the 1850s. Now the Democratic Party for their part were still looking for a nominee to run against Fremont. No. The Democrats had chosen Buchanan to run against Fremont. But there was another candidate in 1856, Millard Fillmore, the former president who had succeeded Zachary Taylor in 1850, and another dough-faced Democrat, gained the support of unaligned former know-nothings and Whigs and ran for the presidency again. Now, this election played out in two contests. One, Buchanan against Fremont in the Free States, and Buchanan against Fillmore in the Slave States. And Buchanan nearly swept the slave states, losing only Maryland to Fillmore. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Indiana, Illinois, California. He took those states. He took his home state of Pennsylvania. He took Fremont's home state of California, and he took the states of New Jersey, Indiana, and Illinois. Fremont got New England and the other northern states. Now, the third party system had arrived, replacing the old system of strong national parties with slave and free state wings, with a system of strong national parties with strong sectional bases. The greatest bond of national unity was now gone. That was the political parties. And this division, this national division, would not simply be something that that the states would endure. This would also affect churches. The sectional realignment hit both the Methodist and the Baptist churches, which split into northern and southern wings over the issue of slavery. Southern Baptists and Southern Methodists often pop into mind. The northern branches simply kept the name, and the southern versions, the southern wings, were forced to add southern onto their their names. The Presbyterians avoided a complete split, but they did take on very sectional outlooks in the 1850s. Although the split with the Presbyterians had more to do with church doctrine than the issue of slavery, and of course the Episcopalians and the Catholic churches avoided a split altogether by avoiding the issue altogether. As things escalated to a fever pitch, the situation in Kansas exploded into what really became a mini civil war, and that war erupted in the territory, with anti and pro-slavery forces waging armed assaults on each other. The situation in Kansas was that pro-slavery factions from Missouri would enter into the borders of the Kansas territory and attack, either beat, if they found them, kill free men, and assault the anti-slavery, or even if they found them abolitionists in Kansas, attack and sometimes kill them to intimidate people into not voting. President Pierce sided with the pro-slavery elements on the violence in Kansas. The reality of the Kansas territory was that the majority of the settlers were opposed to slavery, and that the pro-slavery element hoped to use violence to cow their opposition into submission. They were the very minority of settlers in Kansas who supported slavery, and they mainly relied on outsiders, the border ruffians that I spoke of again, who came over from Missouri. In 1857, the Lee-Compton Constitution was passed in the territory. It was a pro-slavery document, and it was endorsed by Pierce. Now, the Free Soilers in Kansas opposed it, so did Stephen Douglas, who objected to it because it overrode the will of the majority of people, of the settlers in Kansas. Buchanan, after his election, offered his support to the Lee-Compton Constitution. To Northerners, this was just another piece of evidence that there was a slavocrat conspiracy, and that the conspiracy actually existed in the Republic. It further divided the public. Of course, Northerners are saying, the Northerners are saying this is proof that there is a slavocrat conspiracy. Southerners are saying no. This is just the will of the people. This is how it's supposed to be. Allow them to decide for themselves. Allow them to live their lives as they want to live it. The troubles in Kansas would eventually spill out of her borders and help spur the national disunion. But for now, we'll break here, and when we come back, we'll continue the national discourse. As always, I'm Ted. Hit like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you thought about the wrap-up of the turbulent mid-1850s. And I will see you guys next time with another lesson.